I call the meeting. Let's take an attendance first. Tom Milligan.
Yep.
Scott,
Yes.
Claude. Chet,
Yeah.
Mary Ann, Monica.
Here.
Here, Sal here. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Approval. We're all here. Very good. Good work. All right, let's take a look at the minutes from the April 9, 2025 meeting. Does anybody have any comments or things?
I need to correct Monica Rowe. I've spelled with a small r, so that needs to be capital R.
Oh,
Okay,
Stupid point, Robert's Rules of Order, somebody should move to approve, and then we should have any discussion after that.
right.
Just,
All right.
the
Motion
usual
to accept
Robert's
the
Rules
minutes
thing.
of the last meeting.
Thank you, Scott.
I will second that motion.
Thank you, Claude. Any comments? We're gonna change that, make a capital R. Good work,
Make it
Tom.
capital R. My comments are excellent job on the minutes.
There you go.
I read them carefully the day after I got them, and I didn't even find the
You
capital
didn't,
R.
and you didn't call me.
No.
Actually, you called me and said, Tom.
Nope, nothing, it was perfect.
All right, motion to approve. Everybody in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. All right, let's see if we have anything new from the town administrator that he wants to throw in there. Chet?
Just wanted to give you an update where we are with moving forward. I met with the engineer related to the water system and the sewer system, and we're in the process of gathering all the data so we could start to put it into a program and starting to put the pricing in so we can start developing an annual appropriation for it. Hopefully I'll have that. Won't have it at the June 4th meeting because I will be gone till the June 3rd if you pick the June 4th, but it'll probably the next meeting after that, we would have that update. And there, as far as updates go, I was going to give you an update of what changed on the ballot. The only thing that actually changed was the 73,000 was not approved for the buildings and grounds there. So that's the only thing is that reduction. So once we get the water and sewer in there and we have the beginning of the next plan, then we'll have an updated program for you. Cause we also want to do some of the adjustments to the program related to showing original price and
Right.
net price and things like that. So, those will be forthcoming.
So when do we think? Which one of our
July.
meeting? And we don't know whether it's the second. or the
I'm sorry,
Yeah, go ahead.
I forgot to follow up on that meeting date.
Yeah.
You just said you're not coming back till the 3rd, we have a meeting planned for the 4th. There's nothing sacred about the 4th.
No, it does. I said if it ends up saying that my thing is I would need a couple of weeks because I'm gonna be coming back into the
understand.
taxes and everything else. So,
Sure, what I mean is,
Right.
should we consider delaying the June 4th meeting a little bit so that Chet has a little more time to get his feet in the ground when he comes back?
I mean, realistically, if we have one either the 2nd or 9th of July, that would be a good time that we could have some data.
So we want to cancel the one on.
The 4th, we wouldn't need to have.
Are
It
you
would- we-
trying to tell us that this will not be a working vacation?
Evidently not. I've already told Carrie Ann, I'm leaving my phone in her office. I'm leaving my town credit card in her office.
I was gonna suggest middle of June and then middle of July.
Middle of June will be tight just because it's gonna be nuts when I get
But
back.
pipe for water and sewer, but
Right.
overall,
Well, the overall, I won't have the new modifications. That takes quite a bit of work. I could have updated numbers in there by then, yes.
Uh,
But that's only gonna be like 1 or 2 line items. I mean, we're not gonna be reviewing
so
very.
subject to what everybody else thinks, but I think it would be kind of risky to skip a whole month of June and not meet again until July.
But last year, we didn't meet in June. The only meeting in June last year was the organizational one. We started in July.
Yeah, that's true.
We started in July last year with the real meetings.
Go to chair, whatever.
Let's hold off on that let's see if we can get
Hold
through the
on.
rest of this
Fine.
and
Good,
see if we want to do
Fine.
something.
all right, good.
Right.
Um,
Anything else on your agenda there?
No, I mean, I think right now, because we had the corrective meeting on Tuesday
Right.
for the special town meeting, which was just that we were 1 day late with the DRA.
Okay.
Well, we got it at 7 o'clock that night. But given that, this is why I'm saying where everything's going. All the things that were approved on the ballot this year were on hold until Tuesday.
Oh, no.
So we're right now, we're starting, Well, first of all, you have the 30-day appeal period, and then we had to wait that extra couple of weeks to get that done before we're saying, now we're gonna start filling out the paperwork for a bond anticipation note. Now we're gonna be doing all these different things, so we're just starting now.
Questions about the update. What $73,000 was not approved again, please?
That was for for the town to appropriate $73,000 to the, and I forget the name, what's it? It's the buildings fund, and I forget which one it's exactly called.
The
Government Buildings Fund
Government buildings.
did not get its
was the
$73,000
appropriation to stay-
appropriation.
Really?
Yeah. What
Every-
they did is they approved the town hall.
The thing that
senior
blew
center
my
thing,
mind,
You know, but
it blew my mind that the bond passed 90 to 10% or something close to 85 to
Right, but
15.
Then they didn't want.
We lost, but they didn't want to fund $73,000 to the buildings fund, and it only lost by 13
I
votes.
can't explain that.
It's like, what is
I
that?
know, yeah. That's Tim.
I couldn't follow that.
Don't worry. it's history.
Yeah, it is. It just was an interesting thing.
Well, you mentioned it, and I wasn't sure what it was.
Yeah, no,
I
that's
understand,
fine.
thanks.
Carrie, Ann, you got anything you
Government
wanna?
Buildings Capital Reserve Fund.
Nothing?
Right.
Okay,
Right.
Move on to the next thing.
Got it.
We did discuss the addition of an alternate member. Did we want to bring that up and have a conversation about that? Is there?
Have we advertised that yet?
No.
No, okay.
We also haven't advertised the
Do we want
budget
to-
opening.
Right.
position
The
either.
budget committee,
I
yeah.
think
So maybe
we
you
should
guys
talk
do-
about whether you want to advertise such an opening or not. Let me just point out my past history, we did not have an alternate in any of the prior years until last year.
That's right.
That was the
because of-
first and
because I
only
was
year
really
we've had an
trying to
alternate,
make
so I don't know if we need one or not, it's up to you guys. What do you think?
Did he participate last year? Did he vote at any
He
time?
came to-
Yeah,
The
meeting,
first
voted
two meetings, I think, and then he was
And
gone.
that's because he was really Sal's replacement, because Sal
Yeah.
was not allowed in public.
Well, Sal at that time was doing everything online.
Yes,
Right, correct, and you can't vote online by state law.
yeah, so,
So he was here and he voted, so Mark was fine. The only reason I think we might wanna consider having an alternate is to allow for a quorum. If on any given day, two of us can't make it, we don't have a quorum.
yeah, but
So,
then,
but other than that,
that might not be the worst thing in the world, because if we're trying to make decisions, we really should have everybody who's had some
Yeah.
history here.
true.
So I
if
think
you
we'll
don't
just
wanna-
pass on it. I'm not,
Great, if you're gonna have an alternate, you kinda have to ask them to be here every meeting to be up to speed.
And Mark
Yep.
was, he came to every meeting,
yeah,
right?
Mark did, but
But you can't have an alternate for Scott.
No, you can't.
no.
And as I understood it, one of the members was from the planning committee and one's from the budget committee. And I don't think you can have an alternate unless it comes from that committee. That's the representation.
If I may, that's not exactly true. John Bergeron sent me the original warrant article from 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And you're right, that article says the committee shall be comprised of one member from the select board, appointed member, one member from the budget committee, one member from the planning board. Shall be consistent of that, but not limited to. In other words, we've chosen to have a citizen representative as well. We could have 3 citizen representatives if we wanted to. It depends on the size of the committee. we
You have
want to
plenty of
establish.
us.
So what I'm trying to say is we have flexibility.
Okay,
Other than Scott, you're right, the select board, the ex officio rep can't be represented by an alternate. But any one of the 3 of us could be, according to that original, because you can have any number of members. They don't have to be of those committees necessarily. I'm not saying that to argue for it, I'm just saying that if you wanted to, that's not the reason not to. You think no?
No, I don't.
What do you think, Tom?
I don't care. I mean, I just pointed out because I knew about the select board issue
Correct.
and I thought the same would apply to the others.
Apparently it does not, we read the original warrant article.
And it said that if one person's not here, you still have a
Still have a
quorum and you still have.
If one person's not here, correct.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's when you get the
So
two, it
once-
becomes an issue.
Yes, that's it. So we'll pass on
I
that.
will pass,
Okay,
that's fine.
good. Okay. The thing that I'm most interested in getting before we even get into any of these other things would be the mechanics report. Do you know the mechanics report, what I'm talking about? See, do we still have a mechanic?
We just got a new mechanic a few months ago.
Yeah.
And he's still getting wound up, so we gotta get him on this subject.
Well, I think, that's probably, I mean, I would suspect that that's a good thing, because then he'll get to, review all the vehicles.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's a good thing in that he should, that will familiarize him with
Exactly.
what everything is.
Sure.
It should,
Yeah, well, it's a start.
yeah.
Right, and that's kind of the basis that we would be using when we're looking at, the request for a vehicle replacement or any of these other crazy things that have to do with vehicles, so I think that's the first thing, so if you could, get him to start thinking about
Yep.
that. And hopefully we can get that before we meet with any of the, departments.
If I could make a suggestion in regard to get him thinking about it, is I would suggest you supply him the two Word documents that were produced last year.
Yep.
One was for trucks, I think, if I recall
Yeah.
correctly, one was for other equipment like the grader and the bulldozer or whatever. So there were two documents. If you could provide those to him, he could look at what was the state of those last year.
Right.
He'd also have that as his list of equipment, so to speak.
Yep.
And he
Yeah.
could update it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Somebody's got.
That was
that.
yeah, I would always do a go by. We're not gonna make them create this from scratch.
Yeah, right.
That's
No.
that's just a nightmare.
We got
I'm
it.
sure the files around on,
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
I don't
I
know.
have them.
I don't know if he
I don't-
at this point could sit down and just write you down a list of everything he's responsible for.
No,
That's
that's that
okay.
report would.
No, I'm just
So,
saying
yeah.
because it's,
Yeah.
there's so much over there for him
Yeah.
to do,
Sure.
big and small. Everybody can pretty much come up with the large equipment, but there's a lot of in between.
Well,
and-
you had a big hand in doing that originally. He's still
Well-
working there, right?
Yes, things have shuffled a bit. The mechanic is currently still working the way they are. We're in the process because we've been having issues, and this is townwide, with departments not talking to each other and expecting responses. It's been a little of an issue. So we've been slowly moving towards kind of somebody managing the whole public works section, which would be Bob. And we're in that process. So he will be like the point person where these things happen.
He'll be primary communicator.
Yes.
That's great.
So we're working on getting to that level. We're very close. We actually have been, Carrie Ann already prepared the organizational chart that goes with it, and we're trying to get that implemented at this time. We showed it to the select board the other night, and hopefully when we first meet in June, we can make that official.
Right. Can I suggest an approach in that regard?
Yeah.
Good, if you could provide that to him and get him started thinking about it pretty soon. Could we request that report by the August meeting?
Well, that was
Because
gonna be
by
my
September, we
suggestion.
should have a plan, the first cut of a plan for replacements. We would need to have the report by August to make that possible.
Correct.
Well, let's
How's that for a goal?
Well, I mean, I
Well-
think typically the budget committee starts the second meeting, like the second week that the select board meets in September. So I think we would want to have it done at that same time, like we're gonna have most of the numbers in at that point for the budget committee. But we want to have it 100% done technically by the end of September,
The
unless
plan
there's things
itself,
worse.
Financial plan.
With all of the equipment and everything else.
Well,
You need the mechanics report much
There
earlier.
you go, you need that first.
Well, you
the
need-
mechanic Report to.
Well, I
Base it on.
slow down, because we don't actually need it first, depending upon how we schedule the department meetings.
Right,
Right, I mean.
Because to be honest with you,
Bridges, we don't need.
when I say first, I'm sorry.
We don't need- That's
Let's
okay,
understand first.
yeah,
I think we need
Yeah,
a
we
mechanics
need it.
report before we do the highway plan.
yes.
That's all I'm saying.
Well, before we do
That's what
highway,
I'm saying.
before we
Perfect.
do
One
maintenance,
before the other.
before we do
Yeah.
police department, before we do fire and ambulance. Transfer station, we could probably get away with, because they don't have many.
I'm actually gonna kind of upend the process for a different reason.
Sure. You're the guy
Well,
that's gonna deal with all this.
I actually want to move things in a different order,
Sure.
starting in like early August with some of the, well, I'm thinking in terms of like water and sewer,
Sure,
transfer station and those, they were like at the end last year.
yeah. you
But
wanna
the
move on?
problem was we were making much more significant changes from when they came in and presented than we were with the other items, because the other items, to be honest with you, are gonna kind of be rote. We've already done the plan. We're gonna say, does this still match? And all we're doing is making a change in each one, hopefully. You know what I mean? So, and we just have to update pricing and things like that. So the hope is the bulk of the plan should be famous last words, easier than last year.
No, it's not any particular order.
Right, no, I know that.
Right,
I'm saying
So
it because
you-
if you remember last year, we got that plan at the last minute. We were actually creating it
Mhm.
at the budget committee meeting, which cannot be
Exactly.
happening. So
I
we
think
want to
Mr.
get those.
President Would want you to do whatever
Right.
sequence you think is.
We
Yes.
need to bring water and sewer, our thinking, in quicker, because at this point in time, we really have no CIP for either.
Yep.
Right.
Water isn't as critical as sewer. Sewer, because of your caustics and acidity that you work with. One of the simple things is, we've got all these tanks out there in the ground that the town is responsible for at every one of these customers. A concrete tank generally carries a 20-year lifespan.
Mhm.
These have been in there since the mid-1980s.
So a little overdue,
What's that?
well overdue.
Where we've got some that are under driveways, roadways and stuff that we really need
Yeah.
to have a full inspection on them and start setting money aside in CIP for upgrades. Now, as far as your residential tanks, you now have some very good choices in the plastic that rather than a 20-year lifespan, now you can look at a 50 to 75-year lifespan.
Huge difference, yeah.
Yes. And they actually, plastic tanks that we were installing, they're actually carry an H20 rating, which you can drive over. In concrete, that's an additional cost to buy an H20 rated reinforced tank. And some of these plastics, they're H20 rated is what they start at. So I mean, we've gotta look at our shelf life on some of this equipment that we've got in the ground. And it's out of sight, out of mind for the most part.
Do you know where they are?
Know where most of them are.
Okay.
Keywords
all right,
are
so I think that-
most.
And the bigger issue
Yeah.
on the sewer part is, according to John, our treatment facility has kind of reached the end of its life, and they may not let us do it the way we're doing it right now. They're making some changes. So we're gonna, and this isn't something we're gonna have ready for this year. But in the back of your mind, when we talk about tanks and stuff, we gotta know,
Right.
what are we looking at down the road, and do we start investing in that?
Sure.
We don't know, so there's gonna be a lot of unknowns. We're just trying to get something on paper and saying, look, one thing we don't have in town, we're charging below the minimum rates the state set. We do not, it is not, yes.
Yes.
No, yeah, we have to raise them to above the minimum if we're
I
gonna
didn't realize
continue to
we were
get
charging
granting.
below the-
Oh, we're like the second lowest in the state.
Okay.
We're not even at the
We're
right.
at the position right now that our rates are so low, we do not even qualify to apply for some of these grants because we don't have enough revenue
Right.
generated
Is
with
this
it.
both water and sewer again?
Yes.
Primarily, both are low.
Water is really low. But the issue also is that we've never had a capital plan, and that has to be part of the rate structure. And in order to be able to get the funding that we're gonna need to
Yeah.
fix these in the future, we gotta get up. So there's gonna be
Yeah.
some pain at the pump.
Yeah.
Well, kind of literally, related to this. So these are the things we're trying to work on. We're gonna have to be doing sometime this summer, we're gonna have to do a public hearing for rate changes. Just don't know what the timing of that's gonna be. They had recommended we start it last year, but we had a special meeting for the town, for the sewer. We had to wait for the water. We had that September meeting. Just like everything has been backing up against each other, just a real sewer joke.
Yeah.
Sorry. But it's just so you're aware of all the things that are in play in this conversation,
Right,
so.
All right, we got that, but so what we would need from you, Chet, is the sequence of things and roughly what meetings you think that those would be.
Water
set.
sewer realistically should be the first meeting in August.
Okay,
And I'm gonna set that as a tentative date for the mechanic to have his report to you.
That's what I was
If
suggesting.
I could have those two things,
Exactly.
I think those are like the big variables that if we have to meet multiple times about, those
Right.
are the two. The rest of it, it's like, The only reason to get the transfer station in here is because we always get that last second too, so we'd like to make it an earlier one.
Yeah.
So we could actually put that, maybe, you know, what do we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's cool. You only need technically like 6 meetings, so you don't need more than 2, so we would do like, transfer station and, the police department at the second meeting or something, or library recreation, I don't care, they're all the same thing.
Well, this is the thing, you don't have to tell us the answer now.
Yeah, so I'm just saying, like, that's where I'm thinking is
I
like that,
understand, but
so,
So when you get some time.
well, you had set dates, so I didn't know how accurate. it was.
Well, I think, well, we want to set dates.
Right.
Right.
Well, I'm saying, but-
what I'm
well, let's
trying to
set-
get at is, think about it a little bit based on what you know.
Right, well, I'm saying
Because
maybe
when-
we should put the set dates, because I'm recommending, we don't have a June meeting,
Right,
we do a July 9th,
okay,
and then I'm giving you what I have at that point, and we're starting to put together the real program. The 6th, we do water and sewer,
great,
and hopefully have the
Mechanics.
mechanics report. And then we set the rest of those meetings on the 9th when I have a little more information. We could just start
that
that
would be
way.
fine. That's perfectly fine. Right,
So,
That makes sense to me, because there's no sense in
Right.
having meetings for you to just bring in piecemeal.
Right.
Right.
You haven't had a chance to
yeah,
collect
just,
yet.
you know,
Yeah.
we'll work with you, you know, we know you got a lot on
'Cause
your
my-
plate, so. it's
well, my
okay.
goal really is to be done, you know, all except for the fat lady singing in September. You know what I mean? Like, if we're in the right world, we should be there, because
By the end of
we're,
September, you should.
because the rest of those items, we have a column that's predicted for this year. We're just checking to make sure it's okay.
Right.
And has anything in the mechanics report changed any of it?
But, you
'cause-
know, we do need to give the department heads the chance to come in.
Oh, no, no,
Have
no,
their say, independent of you.
No.
Yeah.
That's not the issue. The issue is, I'm saying,
Yeah.
technically, they're bringing in something that changes from the plan. You know what I mean? If they're saying this plan works for me, then that's what they're gonna tell you.
Right.
You know what I mean? So,
All I'm saying is, we just need to hear direct from them, that's all.
no, you were going to. I wasn't trying to circumvent
Okay,
any of
I
that
understand.
process. When we talk about going over these, I'm not presenting.
thank you.
They are.
Good, give yourself a rest.
Yeah. He's gonna get one for the next couple of weeks.
Can you get me a purchase order for a recliner?
A vibrator.
We can just stick you in the corner over there, you can, you know.
I'm good to go.
With built-in alarm clock.
All right, so that's good. So that's progress. So we'll get some kind of an update from you at some point in time.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're not gonna finalize the currently proposed meeting, but we are gonna finalize no June 4th,
Right.
July 9, and then the rest is still tentative, correct?
The rest of those, as far as,
Well, I don't know, sixth or the 13th, I think that we can set it at the 9th, because then you'll have a better feel for.
Based on my experience, I think you'll want 6 and 20. I think you'll want.
You
two
want
in
two?
August. I think you'll want to.
in August, yeah.
Plan on this.
In August, 2 in August?
You could always cancel.
Because
On that time.
Go ahead.
We're-
fine.
No, because you have 2 in September. I think once
Two
we're,
August.
once we're in that groove and we have the base plan
Yeah,
done,
yeah.
which technically you should have a preliminary plan sitting on your desk that you're comparing what you're being told on August 6th.
Right, yeah.
And once we're starting, now we're just hitting departments and then doing updates in between meetings. So we
Yeah,
just
so-
crank it away until we're done.
All right, so then let's say the 6th and the 20th, and kill the 13th.
Yeah.
That'll give us a couple of weeks in between,
Yeah,
right?
that sounds about right, yeah.
And then again, the 3rd, 17, 1 and 15.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
That works.
We're good?
Yeah.
Tentative of plan right now, yeah, right.
Okay, great.
And by the way,
Yeah.
later, depending, you wanted to have them perhaps when the budget committee was gonna meet. If those latter meetings don't line up, the budget committee, you wanna change them, we can change
Yeah,
them.
we could change, but we haven't gotten around to that.
But tentatively, right now, we'll. we
Well,
don't-
realistically, my hope is that we've covered everything preliminarily by the September 17th meeting or the latest October 1st. The 15th meeting is only if we have things that
Trouble.
we're corralling
Yeah.
at that point. So,
All right, good. Any other business that we need to be discussing?
So, couple of things, one, there was, you were gonna have some changes made to the Excel planning tool,
yeah,
but 2 things, if I recall.
Yeah.
One was trade-in values.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was evaluations of the vehicles, yep.
So have you hadn't been able to start that yet, or what do you?
No,
do
that's
in that
what's-
regard, or what?
No, that's a bigger process. That takes a bunch of time because we're actually rewriting code. So that takes a
Right.
little more time. So,
That started it, I guess, was my question. No, not yet. when you will want to have that in place by August, it will appear, because that's when you're gonna want to be inputting the plan.
I'm hoping I have the plan updates that we have today for the 9th, which means those technical issues and our current items that how we're sitting and verifying our end of year balances and things like that, just verifying the dollars and then we would have the new columns and then
That's the other thing, two new columns, if I remember right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
what we're
right.
hearing is the things that we discussed, the several items that were in there, the technical move arounds and whatever. Those are the things that you're gonna present on July 9 as part of.
yeah, because basically there are things that exist today
That's fine.
in the worksheet part of the file. You want to see them up where
Correct.
we see them. So that's just, we got to pull those forward.
I did not hear that about the
That's
trade,
okay.
Yeah.
the trade-in value thing. I did not hear that that'll be ready by July 9th. So-
Yeah.
Oh,
No,
that's.
the column, because the trade-in value, if you go to like, if we're talking about equipment
Yeah,
and you go to the equipment worksheet in the
Yeah.
back,
yeah,
it's all there. It says purchase price, trade-in value,
Right.
net. We got to pull them to the front
okay,
so that they're seen
all right.
on the printout, because the printout basically is trying to just give you enough information to be on the screen. That was its always intent.
Okay.
But now if we want to add those two columns, it just changes the printout part, because all of that stuff already exists.
All right,
So that's what that is.
Good, well, got there.
that was it. Oh, those were the, yeah.
Sal, I have a question
Sure.
on your list here.
Yeah.
You've got road maintenance. You don't have road reconstruction. Do we need to address road
I think this
Reconstruction.
should say reconstruction.
as a separate item?
Well,
Or, I mean,
I would argue that the new capital reserve fund should be the title of this. Just eliminate building or highway maintenance.
Yeah.
And use that title,
What is that?
or road maintenance. You have, what's it called?
What's it called?
Is it road reconstruction?
That's what I thought, road reconstruction.
Road reconstruction,
What it should-
capital reserve fund, something like that.
Something
it's-
like that. That's what I thought.
Road
Road
reconstruction
reconstruction.
capital, and that, yeah, so, because the
That-
maintenance, we just want to just not use that word if we can
It's
help
fine,
it.
sure.
I
And
agree.
buildings has the same thing, there's another word for the.
Because the
name of
maintenance side
text.
of it's in the operating.
Oh, yeah,
budget.
buildings shouldn't be, what is the buildings one called?
It's it's government
Government
buildings capital
buildings,
reserve, so it's
capital
government
reserve.
buildings.
Get the word maintenance out of there.
Yeah, we're just gonna use what, because we're basically expending from the appropriation to the reserve account, so we'll keep those things aligned.
and what about library then? Is that included in the government buildings or is that a separate item?
The interesting part is it's covered in government buildings, library. The way it's set up, that's like within what they're doing, I don't know, but the
Yeah, they're
actual
all-
building is a government building, it's not a separate reserve fund. But we do track it like. In the capital sheet, it would be a building you would look at upon itself, it's its own line items. You know, but it's really, the
It's-
question is it's typically not something that's prepared by the librarian, it'd be something prepared by us.
Right, so library would no longer be something that.
It's highway capital road reconstruction. Is what we're
I
using.
didn't hear.
Good. So that,
There's your highway.
Oh,
Yeah, with highway capital road reconstruction.
includes library?
No.
No, that's the
Oh,
highway.
you're shifting the.
No, she was just giving it the name we asked for like a couple of
Okay,
minutes
okay,
ago.
Okay, I thought,
let's pull down
I
and
got
let Tom
caught
get
on
his bearings here.
Yeah,
So first thing is the name that we want to use for that, and what's the name that we're gonna use for that?
Highway capital road reconstruction.
Good there, Tom?
Yep,
That was the name,
good.
okay.
and then
So
the
next
building's
question
name.
is- Oh, and then what's the other one? The
The
buildings?
buildings is government buildings capital reserve fund.
Okay.
And that includes the library. The library does not have its own fund.
That's right.
It's always been reviewed separately because it is a significant building by itself, but when you look at our program,
Right, so we're
It's
getting
all
rid of.
under that
we're
list.
getting
Under
rid
our
of-
program, we should make it a point to list every government. building, cause I know, I forget now, but I know one that's been left out in the past is the museum.
Yes.
Right.
And it's all dry rot in that thing right now,
I
and we
won't
just
come on
found
here
that
about
out.
right now. So we'll get rid of the thing that says library on this, agenda,
right now?
right?
Yeah, cause
Library's out.
it'll come under the government buildings.
Yes, and then recreation and cemetery, those are nothing to do with buildings, so they still stay in here. Or not. Go
The
ahead.
issue is.
Yeah.
We don't currently have any capital projects related to it.
Right. For
But the-
recreation,
Well, definitely for
so
recreation.
then we kill recreation,
I mean, right now, we don't have anything in there for that.
okay? That's out.
Cemeteries is the one that's got me thinking, because
Mhm.
while there's nothing like specific comes to my mind, like there's roads that we need to rebuild. We might have to throw $15,000 at some gravel or something, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Okay.
That's
so
one
we'll
I'm
leave
just
it on
not
the
sure.
agenda for now,
I'm
and
not sure how that's gonna
we'll get
work.
rid of- We'll get rid of, library and recreation. Yes,
And the cemetery,
yeah.
cemeteries commission will become official
Mhm.
that they can operate, and I think it'll either be the 10th or the 17th of June that they will be appointed.
Right, so they'll actually show up with a,
They would then be coming and talking about what
Yeah.
are the issues and are they capital or are they
Right.
not, like, I think.
Yeah,
that
cause
would
they're
be the
gonna, they're
commission.
gonna need a couple of months just to get
Yes.
organized into.
But they
Yeah,
become
but
official,
last,
yeah, because after the town meeting, they had 90 days before they became official again. So that's June 11th,
Yeah.
so.
So I have a couple of comments based on history and experience regarding, library and recreation.
sure, go ahead.
Library, I agree, it's in buildings, town buildings. The reason library used to be on the CIP list
Mhm.
was up until last year when we had a much lower spending threshold. When the library needed computers, for example, they had to be in the CIP plan.
I see,
But now that our threshold is 10,000 and above, the library equipment does not need to be in CIP. So yes, you can scratch library.
okay,
Because the building itself is included in the government buildings and their equipment is generally almost always less than $10,000, so.
And the other,
So you can scratch library.
the other oddball thing in all of this,
yeah, go ahead.
the library building is the town,
Right.
the
Yeah.
structure and all of
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
They own everything within it. But the way the library rules are written at the state level, like the town, all we have control over is giving them a pot of money.
Yep.
They spend it however they want. They don't have to get permission to buy anything.
Right.
And it's almost like we're gonna give them this much money and we don't even look at their inside stuff. Like we wouldn't look at computers or
Right.
servers or
Certainly not anymore, yeah, right?
you know what I mean? Like it just doesn't apply. That's one of the things that they do when they come to the budget committees. They say, we have $20,000 to offset our budget, but we were never billing them for it. But we're now billing them for it. And they're not gonna be very happy. But the other piece is, I think at the end of the day, like this year, when the budget committee looks at it,
Yeah.
we're gonna recommend that we fund the difference, that you actually only put the difference in the budget.
Yeah.
And not put a revenue and an expense in, because we will just pay them what the net is that they're saying that they need. And then we don't have any of this back and forth money stuff, because
Right, so, but
we're
for
also,
purposes of this committee, it's.
it's a non-issue.
Library comes off the list, I agree.
Right.
On the other hand, I don't agree the recreation should come off the list.
Go ahead.
Because remember, this is a long-term plan, just because we don't have a capital project in mind right now for recreation. What if someday we want to build another ball field or add to the playground or any other thing? In the future years, I think it should be in the plan showing perhaps some future projects that might be needed. I think recreation belongs in CIP, even if the next 4 years is zero.
Okay, and I don't disagree. It was just, we're not gonna have anything. We don't have a
We don't have
department, we don't have any
anything.
plan. But the other thing
We'll
is,
leave it on the list and we just won't have a meeting.
Well,
Well,
there's the
no
ball
meeting.
field.
well, what we're gonna do,
Yeah.
is we'll talk about,
Playground.
One at a time, yeah, go ahead, sorry. Go
we'll
ahead.
talk about, what's that fund we have?
Field.
I was gonna say, there's Williams Field money there.
There's actually a fund, and there's actually a recreation, like revolving fund.
Budgets, recreation budget, yeah.
No, that's separate from the budget. There's actually a cash, there's actually a pot of cash.
Oh, all
The
right.
Williams
So
Field-
we should be reviewing that,
That.
okay? And then saying,
Much
is
like
there
what
anything
you
we
said.
need to do, like build a dugout over behind the school?
There you go.
Take out the old.
Well, Bob said they were gonna be doing that. Did they do it yet? They were,
Haven't checked lately.
they had said they were
I've been
gonna,
A little busy with real dugouts.
oh, yeah.
There are
Well, I'm just saying, like, I know
playground equipment
Bob had said
in there.
that should technically be gone based on what he told me, but I haven't gone over and double
Check on
checked.
my way home. Tim.
Thank you.
Okay.
Another example is there's a couple of pieces of playground equipment missing.
Yes.
One broke and got ripped out and whatever. Maybe one of these days we wanna plan on replacing.
Well, and this will be a conversation we have with the budget committee too, because we need to look at, are we gonna actually advertise for a part-time person and start to actually have a department again? And start to,
I thought we had someone.
well, we had somebody who was kind of doing it for a stipend but nothing's happened. And it wasn't like a really official, we had them, they wanted to do a couple of programs. We say, go ahead and do that.
Mhm.
We used the stipend money we had in the budget. But
Not
right
giving
now, we're
Enfield
not,
any money.
we didn't send Enfield any money. And just so you know, when we do it this time,
Little private thing.
this is, when we do this, the next time we do it, Carrie Ann's gonna print the check, Deb's gonna sign it, and then you have to hand deliver it.
Yeah, when we get the audit, when we get the audit on the last 6,500 and all the other money.
I'm
that
just
we
saying,
spent.
that's gonna be the rule.
Don't trust those guys over there.
Well, we've got that message pretty loud and clear.
I know too much. Sorry, Tom. Yes, go ahead.
One more item,
Yes.
on the minutes, it talks about the interface between CIP recommendations and the entries into the budget. And
Yes.
we deferred that discussion,
So we got.
Today,
Carrie Ann here.
so we
That's
got
right. We need
Carrie
to
in.
have that discussion.
So do we need to do something with that?
What?
Yeah, I probably just, when the plan's all finished, I just need to know what is capital reserve money versus what is the project being paid out of the general fund. So like this year, 2025's budget, I had emailed you that list of projects that are being paid out of the general fund. And then the majority of the capital reserve money goes to capital reserves. So it was just difficult for me to pick out what is being paid from what fund.
And part of the issue, and we talked about this, is the fact that sometimes that the appropriation that we're listing for capital is split between the two, because it's like, well, if you turn down the budget that you're paying a bond from and you don't transfer the money into the reserve fund that was gonna pay it. So what we did this year is we played a little bit chicken and kept any required payments in the general fund and subtracted that amount from the recommended appropriation and put the appropriation into the reserve funds. That's how it went on the budget.
So how does our committee have anything to do with that?
It's really an accounting issue. It's just, we're saying what this committee is gonna do is say the appropriation amount is $400,000 for paving or whatever it is. And we're gonna say, and it's gonna be split. This much is gonna be kept in to pay the bond or a loan or a lease, and this much is gonna be going into the reserve fund. That's the extent of it.
That's what you.
And then tell Carrie Ann.
Yes.
And that's. So I think we've got that ironed out.
Yeah.
Well, I wanna add one,
Yeah.
I hope helpful piece to that.
Sure.
Up until last year, if you looked at the CIP plan, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. There were things in the CIP, like fire hoses
Yes.
and revolvers for the, and other things. Computers, laptops and so on, that were not capital, but
Right.
they were in the CIP plan.
Right.
Just to reiterate, and I think you know this, but starting last year, no more. The items in the CIP plan now are just capital items. No revolvers, no fire hoses, no ladders, no chainsaws. They're not in last year's CIP plan, nor would they be in.
Firearms technically are because we're buying them in
Right.
bulk and they
If-
met the threshold. Right.
But that makes them a capital item.
Correct.
Her
Correct.
point is, she needs to know what capital
Right.
items are. What I'm trying to say is, I think that as of last year, from then and now. All the items in the CIP plan should be capital items.
Yeah, there's nothing
There's
below
no
that threshold.
Left anymore in the CIP plan.
The only thing that we're actually talking about is bond payments and leases.
There you go, and you'll have
Okay.
to help her understand.
And
what's the way.
that's the only piece, and
Right.
that we gotta take care of that, and it'll show, but I don't, the issue is when you look at the capital plan that we do,
Right,
It doesn't discern that. So we talked about adding a line and saying this will go into this fund, this, or however we do it, but
Okay.
it's like appropriated to the fund and in the general fund, and then you could follow it in that plan.
No, that makes sense.
Who the hell invited you?
That makes sense.
And Ryan didn't mention it.
Yeah, and then,
I mean, I just-
these payments and things like that, which,
Right,
I agree with Tom, I don't think we, the committee, will do that, I think
yeah,
that'll be. more-
that'll be something, that's something that's
That's-
part of rewriting the line items in the
Okay,
budget.
yeah. Well, Tom, we'll get the breakdown. In other words,
We'll see.
we'll say, we're gonna put $1 in, right? And it's gonna be done, separated out this way, 50 cents here, 50 cents there.
Right,
But our recommendation will be $1, and then they'll have to handle.
It'll be
how
up
it
to
gets
them.
dispersed.
so you get a half a cup of
Yeah.
coffee for that $1.
Yeah, right?
You get a half a cup of coffee.
Easier than it was in the past, when they were expensive and didn't.
I don't want to bet big numbers. I like little numbers, simple.
And how we solve that is you put a footnote at the top. The numbers below are all in thousands, so then it only has to say 10 or 20.
Or millions, but you know, for us, thousands would be sufficient. you
Well,
know?
and the critical part of this
Yeah, okay,
is
good.
when we're looking at a 20-year plan.
Yeah.
Okay. When you get out to year 7 and the lease is paid off, people need to understand that that money has to stay in the appropriation, not be like, well, we've got rid of that, so we can just wipe it out of the budget and then we start putting in half the money.
There's
And that's the key, that's the education piece we need to keep in mind.
And the problem we had in the past, back when I was on the budget committee, back in the 80s. We had the problem, we set it up, one of the first revolving accounts we really set up was for the purchase of police cruisers. The argument every year was, here's $10,000 to purchase a police cruiser. Here's $3,000 going in capital reserve. We're buying it. We don't need to put any in capital reserve.
Right.
Yes, you do, because that, you have to build that
Right.
account. Because just because you're drawing for that item, you're still paying forward.
But I think we've.
And that's-
I think we've gotten.
I think
past
we've
that.
gotten past that. around
I think
here.
so. I don't.
Well, and
remember
my
the
thing is,
problem.
and my thing is just making sure that, because if we make it really clear, then the public keep
You're
it
right.
in their
These
mind,
payments stop,
and that's the key.
the savings will have to continue.
Because
Well, the
we're
good thing
playing
is, in
catch up
fact-
now from 2 years
Right.
ago.
Yeah.
That they didn't do.
So the good thing now is that just look aside and then wrap this up, but, you know, we have a number of new folks on the budget committee this year. And so they'll be bringing in a way, they'll be representing a different constituency than the ones that have been there before. So there'll be more people getting the information from those folks directly, so I think that's gonna help incentivize what's really
We
going.
don't have to always do it the way we've done it before.
There you go.
We can look at,
Open to that.
we're looking at something new here.
Okay.
Yeah.
How
All right.
many new members did you get? At the first meeting, they said their purpose of being there was to cut the budget.
Nobody really even
Good.
had that discussion. We did not have that, you know,
Oh.
what we talked about was primarily being efficient at our meetings. Not spending a lot of time on ancient history.
Yeah, but I
that
mean,
kind
the
of stuff, but-
problem I had in the 15+ years I
Yeah,
was
yeah.
there was every year you'd usually end up with one. That they ran so they could cut the budget, and I'd explain to them, your job here is to be fiscally responsible to
Yeah.
the town.
Mhm.
And come up with the most efficient budget for the town, not the cheapest.
We won't know if we have any of those around until we get down to.
Yeah.
Well,
Alright.
if we end up at the 8-1 or 7-2 votes, then we'll know.
And make a motion to return.
Any second?
I'll second that.
All in favor? Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? Passed. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Good job.
Thank
And
you.
ladies. Thank you.
So we'll see you guys